Hello there, my name is Ian Boswell. I'm a video game developer and I've been working with Xyla Entertainment for several months now. I actually started working with Xyla when the company first started up. My core philosophy behind game design is always that games are made to be single-player experiences that tell stories. And multiplayer games have their own realm of esports and that sort of thing. But I always wanted to find a cool way that I could mix these two formats together, where you get all of the cinematic, storytelling, linear aspects that you get with storytelling in a single-player game, mixed with the action and adventure of a multiplayer experience. Back in 1980, I think 9, when I was 4 years old, I watched a movie called The Wizard. And it was essentially a big, long advertisement that Nintendo did for Super Mario Bros. 3, technically. But it was such a popular movie, it was so profound, because in the movie, the lead protagonist is a little autistic boy, and he's really good at playing video games. And they enter him into a contest in Orlando, where he competes to try to get to be better than these other two people who are really good at playing video games. And it was an interesting thing because when we saw this, we thought, wow, there's going to be more of this kind of thing going on in the future, where people will have these races and matches to see how good they are at playing a single-player video game. But that never really happened. Esports has still always been dominated by multiplayer-style arena sports, such as multi-user online battle arenas, MOBAs as they're called, as well as games like StarCraft, which are strategy-based and top-down. What we wanted to do with this game, and what I personally wanted to do, was I wanted to passionately bring back that spirit of racing and competition that you get in The Wizard. And I wanted to bring it out and tease it out using a video game. The thing is, I didn't know quite where to start. It started with a game modification. The process behind coming up with the game actually started as a game modification for the game Portal 2. With it, I created several mods. Each one was an attempt at doing something unique or different, such as making a game where one player has to scout ahead and the other player has to compete through a level. There was also a game mode where both players had to go on a scavenger hunt, and whoever found the item got rewarded. But what ended up being most popular was I ended up creating a modification. One day I ended up just creating this mod that was called Gauntlet. And the idea was I created the same level. It was the same single-player game, and two people played it through the same single-player game at the same time to see who could get through it the fastest. And to make it more punishing to the loser and more rewarding for the winner, I put in a little booth. And when the winner got to the button at the end of their level, they'd press the button and it would teleport the loser into this booth. And it was like being trapped in an insane asylum, padded cell, can't get out. And there's a button in front of the user, and the user gets to choose. He can either let the other player live, or he can kill them. And that's his reward for winning the race. The race can be completed in 10 seconds. So, this is just a single-player experience that's being played by two people side by side. They have a window so they can see each other. They can look over and say, oh, look, I can see you over there. So it existed like that. But what was so profound was we did play tests with this, and players kept playing it over and over and over and over and over until finally somebody quit the game because they were tired of losing too many times. A little light bulb turned on. That was it. That was the magic moment when we saw that, oh my gosh, people like this. This is an experience that they don't have in video gaming right now. It's a one-on-one, mano-a-mano fighting sort of experience, but you're not fighting like in a fighting game. You're not racing like in a traditional racing game where you have cars and you're going around a track a few laps. It's not about timing. It's not about even using things that you find on the racetrack to hit the other racers and throw them off the track. We have power-ups like that, though. We're very Mario Kart inspired. But what's really neat about Rush Brothers and games like it that we're going to be making using this engine is that we want to make games that are single-player, story-based things. We want to make single-player, story-based... We want to make single-player, story-based experiences that the user can jump in and play and see the story of the level play out, and it's just a quick, short little story, and they get to do this while the other player does it at the same time. And using the split screen, they both see each other doing it. In online play, they only see a ghost of the other player running alongside them that they can't, hit or touch, but they can throw things at them and use power-ups to slow them down. But the two never really directly touch. I was actually playing Sonic CD the other day, and I noticed there was a race where Sonic has to race against Mecha Sonic, and it was really fun. And while playing that, I was reminded of Rush Brothers, and I was reminded of how our game is sort of pulling that element out of there of you have to get through the level faster than the other guy. And it's very competitive and very fun and very memorable. I think that the race against Mecha Sonic is probably the most memorable part of Sonic CD. Now imagine if Mecha Sonic had been being played by another player. How great would that be? So that's what Rush Brothers does. It allows both players to race through the same level at the same time to see who's the best. Who's the best at playing platforming games? Who's the best at playing this game? If we take this into other genres, like say a first-person shooter with storytelling elements, who's better at playing like a game like BioShock? Who's better at beating a rich story-based game? We can do that with this engine because Unity is a 3D gaming engine. Rush Brothers is actually a 3D game. Everything has been flattened onto a plane so that we can put whatever we want in there. We can put things in front of you, we can put things behind you, we can do all this dynamic 2D animation. And we're talking Disney-esque quality in terms of animation. We can do as many frames as we want now because these guys that we've recently hired have been doing such a great job getting the code together so that we can inject any art assets we want, animated in Flash or Adobe Premiere or anything. We can just stick it in there and work with it. And so that's what we're doing now is we're creating these very big dynamic story-based levels that are going to tell you stories. It's not just about us telling you the story of the game and seeing who's, it's not just about us telling the story of the game and seeing who can get through the story faster, though. We also want users to be able to create their own stories and share them with each other and race through the stories with their friends or compete online with people or watch other people compete together through their story they've created. And what Rush Brothers is going to let us do is we're going to have a level editor that will allow users to very easily go into a level with a grid, carve out the stage, put in props, set pieces, elements that they want to dress up the stage with, and then put in a start line and a finish line. And then they get to watch their friends race through this and see who's better. Now obviously, one of the things that I also want to emphasize with Rush Brothers is we wanted to make the game hard.
Exhibitors, children under the age of 18 must remain within the confines of your exhibit space during booth preparation and organization hours. All children must be wearing a Comic-Con badge.
The other thing we wanted to do with Rush Brothers that a lot of companies are too afraid to do right now is we wanted to make it hard. Now, half of the game is easy. It's linear progression, it's fun, it's easy to get into. The other half of the game is hardcore. It's for people who've been playing video games since they were 5 years old and are now 25 to 35 years old. It's for people who are so good at playing a game like Super Meat Boy that they can beat a level in a single run. These people are very bored by single-player games right now. If you play a game like, say, Super Meat Boy or even I Wanna Be the Guy, which was very popular, once you beat it, you have no reason to go back and play it again. You can tell your friend, oh yeah, I got this so-and-so time, I got this good time, I'm so good at this game, and I didn't die the whole way through it. Okay, prove it. Prove it. With Rush Brothers, you can prove it. You can go into the match with somebody and prove that you're better than them at beating a platforming game. You can create your own level or play an existing level. You can do anything you want in this engine that will allow you to play a 2D platforming game, and you can do Mario-style stuff. You can do... actually, Super Mario Bros. 2 is the lead inspiration for our own movement system. A little bit of Meat Boy and some more recent platforming games are mixed in there as well, such as Knight, which is a very exploratory-based game. If you want to have a level that's about exploration and ambiance, you can have that. If you want to have a level that's hardcore like a Meat Boy or I Wanna Be the Guy style experience, you can have that. This basically covers all the bases in terms of what you can do with a platforming game. It's every platforming game, all at the same time. So users get to choose what kind of experience they want to have there. But better than just that, you get to prove in an arena if you're better than somebody else, or you can showcase to somebody else how to play the game. You can actually use the game educationally to like play through the level and guide another player as they're running through it, so they know where the secrets are, they know the best way. This is great for people who want to train and get better at this and compete in the esports arena. Esports are really big. If you look up the numbers for sales of games like League of Legends, you'll see that they're actually really, really big right now. They're being broadcast on 7 television channels in Korea. Rush Brothers is going to be the first ever esports platforming game ever made that's been specifically designed for esports from the ground up. That in itself is very exciting. What else can I say about Rush Brothers? The other things to remember with Rush Brothers is that we have the game now. We have it 100%. It's done. The level editor is built, and now I can just go in and build stages at will. We have reached that point now where we are literally looking at being 45 days to maybe a couple of months out from being 100% complete. And when I say a couple, I just mean 2. What's important about that is we're going to be releasing this thing in November, which is a very big month for video games. It's going to be just in time for the holiday season, and we're going to be surprising people at this trade show this year. Nobody knows about this game. Nobody knew it was in development. But nobody knows we've been working on it for 8 months. We've been completely secretive about this. We've been locked up. We haven't told anybody. And so we're going to just debut and say, hey, look, we're Xylo Entertainment, by the way. Here's Rush Brothers, and here's Steam and Guns. And these are our 2 games we've been working on. And that's going to really, I think, thrill a lot of people who are fans. When I tell people I'm making a platforming game that has racing in it, they're like, oh man, I'm really into that. I love platforming games. I love classic, jumping around, doing stuff games. And I'm like, yeah, but this is one where you can actually prove how good you are at it with another person. And they're like, whoa, that's profound. That's the kind of experience we want to invoke. People are going to have experiences in this game that they haven't been able to share with another person before. Now they're going to be able to finally share those experiences. It's not about player 1 and player 2 going back and forth like Mario Brothers 3. It's about player 1 and 2 competing together. It's also not about cooperating and working together, because that gets boring fast. Cooperative games like Portal 2 Co-op and things like that, you play through, you beat it, it's over, it's done. You don't really need to go back unless you take another friend with you, but even then it gets kind of stale and boring, especially if there's puzzles involved. Oh yeah, I beat this puzzle a dozen times, here's how you do it, let's just go through the motions, beat it, blah blah blah. That's how I play Portal 2 these days. I don't know if that's how everybody does it, but that's how I play it, because I already know the solutions to all the puzzles. There's nothing new there. You don't have to scratch your head and wrap your head around it. And then there's the speedrunning aspect. Oh, but you can get the best time in a Portal 2 puzzle. That's fun, but there's nothing really rewarding me at the end. There's no princess to collect. There's no prize to get. There's no experience points to gain. With Rush Brothers, things are different. 2 people aren't cooperating. They are competing. And whoever gets to the end gets to kill the other guy. That right there is enough incentive to immediately have them both hit the replay button, which we flash for them first thing. Want to have a rematch? I smell a rematch. Or you want to just do another track? That's cool. Prove it in another arena. Do another story together. Maybe another level, maybe an easier level. Maybe you're having a hard time beating this level. Oh, what's that? You want to try again? Okay, I'll beat you again. Meanwhile, the loser is thinking, I am going to beat you this time. The winner's just thinking, yeah, I'm going to rub it in your face. You have that back and forth kind of experience going on. That's what we want to have. That's what Rush Brothers does right now. We have that in the game. It's ready to go. We're debuting here at San Diego Comic-Con because we feel that comics are a great way of telling stories. Our game is also a method for users to be able to tell their own stories, and we want to be able to have more of this storytelling sort of element in the esports arena. So far, esports are, everybody gets into a room and fights, and whoever is the victor wins. With Rush Brothers, it's a little bit different, because it's like playing a game like Mario. It's like playing a game that has, story-based elements to it. Events will happen in the stages. Things will open and unlock, and things will fall apart, and maybe we'll put in, boss monsters and things to fight, and all sorts of creations and creatures. The sky is the limit. We have a creative palette that is a complete tabula rasa, a blank slate on which we can put any sort of platforming element. And as the game gets released on Steam, we're going to keep putting out these updates, which will allow users to experience more and more new content, as well as put that content directly into the level editor, which we're going to package. But yeah, I could go on for hours about the profundity that Rush Brothers has, and the very interesting ways that you can communicate with users. But I think it's best to just be played and experienced. When you see 2 people actually pick up the game and actually see how, they play through a single player game, essentially, and then they play through it again, and they don't get bored. That right there is a formula for success. That's a formula for what we're trying to do. That's a formula for changing the way that single-player games are played. And that's what we want to do, is we want to create an engine that lets people make their own.
The Convention Center will begin cleaning the aisles in preparation for Comic-Con opening beginning at 2 p.m. Please make sure all merchandise is out of the aisles by 2 p.m. Do not place trash in the aisles. Please use the gray trash bins located throughout the exhibit hall.
And that's what we want to do. So whether or not people are going to, really want to make this a hardcore experience or a very casual, fun experience is going to be up to the end user. And that's what Xyla is all about, is people are going to be able to make up their own rules. They're going to say best out of 3 or best out of 5, best out of 10. They can decide whatever they think is the number of rounds they should compete in a match. And we don't give them a counter.
The Convention Center will begin cleaning the aisles in preparation for Comic-Con opening beginning at 2 p.m. Please make sure all merchandise is out of the aisles by 2 p.m. Do not place trash in the aisles. Please use the gray trash bins located throughout the exhibit hall.
Now, Steam and Guns is a different, Steampunk Chronicles is an entirely different animal. The game has nothing to do with Rush Brothers whatsoever. Instead of being a competitive game, it's a cooperative game. So the replayability is a little bit lower until you add in the role-playing factor. Remember when I said that sometimes when you want to play an online game, you get a little bit of something, you get a little bit of a reward? In Steampunk Chronicles, the player is constantly able to level up, gain more levels, gain more experience, gain strength, and it's not tiering off, because once you've reached a certain tier, you then unlock a new character and go on and keep playing through. The game is about epic storytelling that's been done that hasn't really been done in a beat 'em up. Most beat 'em ups are, oh no, they took April O'Neil, go Ninja Turtles and rescue her, or something like that. I love beat 'em ups, but I played a game called Bastion, and it changed my whole world in thinking about how to do storytelling in video games, because there's this really deep, gristly voiced narrator who's constantly talking through the whole experience, and he's got such an attitude, and it's really great. That's the kind of storytelling we want to do with Steam and Guns. We want to be able to tell a big, rich, open story that's fully narrated with lots of characters talking to each other, and we just want to have a lot of fun with it. And that's what Steampunk Chronicles is going to let us do. Is it's going to give us a place. What Steampunk Chronicles is going to let us do is it's going to give us a place where we can actively tell a big narrative story and have other people tag along and experience it together as a group, similar to what Left 4 Dead does and other beat 'em up games and beat 'em up and cooperative games. Similar to other beat 'em up and cooperative games. But what's really interesting about Steam and Guns, what's really interesting about Steampunk Chronicles specifically, though, is that it's set in this big, open steampunk world. There's a very rich story behind it, and there's even a character that you're out to rescue. And the characters have interactions with each other. They're not just cookie-cutter fighters who are there to beat things up on the screen. Everybody has strengths and weaknesses. For instance, there's a character who is a sniper, and he's really good with guns. So if you equip a gun on him instead of a sword, his range is incredible, and he does a lot of damage with it. But then again, there might be a character who excels as being a sword fighter. And then you can scale him up to be a really good sniper and sword fighter, or you can choose to scale him up to be the best sniper in the world. You get to customize and choose that sort of setting. But again, it's this fun Victorian kind of, steampunk setting and environment, and it's really fun to just sort of play around, run around with your friends and beat up things. Castle Crashers is an example of this done right. So is Ninja Turtles in Time, the classic arcade game. Those are two of my favorite games ever. I played those with my friends for hours and hours. So to see a beat 'em up on Steam, which there isn't one, is a fantastic idea. When you think of what Steam Greenlight brings to the table, it allows us to put a game like Steampunk Chronicles out there and say, hey guys, do you want to play a beat 'em up on Steam? Because a lot of people don't think that they should be playing beat 'em up games on Steam, but we think that there's a market for that. There's a market for a game like Castle Crashers or Turtles in Time on Steam that should allow people over the internet to play together, to compete, or not compete, but to play together and cooperate together in this environment. Because games like Left 4 Dead are okay on Steam, but those are first-person shooters, right? But there's still 4-player co-op. So this game is also 4-player co-op. players should be able to 4-player co-op together. That's just my point. It doesn't matter what the genre is. They should be able to experience that over Steam and really enjoy themselves together. And that's what we're going to bring to the table for sure. Steampunk Chronicles is all about the guns and all about the swords. You want to collect every gun, every sword you can, get them with different stats, different things. It's similar to the collective sort of end game you see in games like Diablo. In fact, our game is actually very similar to Diablo 3 in that aspect. However, Diablo 3 did something a little bit wrong, which was their ending just sort of cuts off and the whole game's about nothing but leveling up and collection. With Steampunk Chronicles, we open up the door to allow users to create their own scenarios, to fight in arenas against each other, to have more competitive aspects. So again, like with Rush Brothers, we want to take the storytelling element and make it more competitive and make it more arena-based and esports-based. So there are still those cooperative elements, but what's really cool about it, though, is the art style is great, the characters are really well animated, there's tons of swords, tons of guns, all with very cool looks. And there's a lot of people out there who just like the Victorian sort of Sherlock Holmes style of looking at, you know, the way that the world looks and all these Steam-based elements. I love steampunk because it's so surreal. You know, like you see like one of these zeppelins that's got a city built on it, and you know these flags tapering in the wind and big propellers churning as it blows through the air. It's just so ridiculous and over the top. That's the sort of thing that Steampunk Chronicles is going to bring. Is we're going to make a game that's genuinely a steampunk game, and we're going all out. I mean, every sort of ridiculous thing that you would see in a steampunk universe, we're going to cram into this game, and that's exciting and fun. Of course, it's a beat 'em up at its core, and I think that the first game that we're going to use as our main inspiration is actually the Simpsons game from Konami, because that felt very right to me. I like being able to see the health bars of my opponents as I beat them up, and I also liked having a rich story that gets told as the characters go through the environment. In the Simpsons game, every environment wasn't just cookie cutter. They all had themes and stories and things that are going on. With Steampunk Chronicles, we're going to use something more along the lines of Bastion, where we tell a rich, deep story set in a fascinating world that you learn about piece by piece as the players go through it. So you're going to have this story told to you and this world unlocked to you, and you're going to learn it only by playing the game. Gameplay is powerful because it allows you to take something that's a repetitive action, do it over and over again, and for it to not be boring. Rush Brothers makes it not boring by putting in a competitive aspect. Steampunk Chronicles makes it not boring by putting in a very rich storytelling aspect. But in both cases, we're trying to make games that not only tell stories, but also allow users to experience these great, big, rich worlds and environments, and to put their own little touches into it, to make it their world. Not just our world, it's everybody's world to share together in this big open environment. And that's what we're all about at Silo Entertainment. That's what a lot of video game companies are out trying to do, and we definitely are succeeding in doing it. It's taken a lot of time to get to this point, but we're finally there. We're finally ready to actually debut and show people what we've got and what we've been working on. And I cannot wait for this con to start, which is about to happen any second now. So here we go, everybody.